Hey, what's going on? This is Joshua Jones here with Fun and Affordable Magic the Gathering for a stable edition. This is part 3 of the videos we're bringing you on Commander Deck Techs today, and this is Rosheen Meanderer. So, if you want to get the old Buzzbark deck and you're just thinking, oh man, on the 15th or whenever it is in January, I can't play it anymore. I don't want to invest too much money. Hey, I got a solution for you. So if you want to play Old Buzzbark, check out part 1. And if you want to see the contraptions that I would put in Old Buzzbark, take a look at part 2. All 3 videos are going to be up when you see this video because this is part 3. Rosheen Meanderer. Pretty much take that deck tech and swap out the cards that are silver bordered or illegal after whenever it is 15th of January, I think, and you already have another deck ready to go that's fun and playable. So jump into it here. 3 hybrid red green for a 4/4 legendary creature, giant shaman that says tap to add 4 colorless mana to your mana pool. Now you might be thinking that's absurdly OP. Why isn't this being played everywhere? And that's because the 4 colorless mana can only be spent to play mana that contains X cost in it. So here we have 10 ramp cards to start this deck tech off, and I'll say this: the 8 of them are the same from the old Buzzbark deck. You only have to switch out 2, and the 2 are going to be Sakura Tribe Elder, which is taking the selfie preservation slot. It's a 1/1, and you guys know Sakura, you just get a sack it to get a basic land. Just solid ramp on turn 2. Then you have Astral Cornucopia, which makes sense with Rosheen because you could tap Rosheen if you have them out to get the 4 colorless mana. Add 1 more to that, and you can have Astral Cornucopia come in where nope, that is incorrect. You got to add 2 more to that because then Rosheen will give 4, you'll provide 2, X will equal 2 in that case, and Astral will type for 2 mana. Then we have the same 4 here from the other deck, and Kadama's Reach, Cultivate, Farseek, Animist Awakening. And same here, Felwar Stone, Rule Signet, Commander Sphere, Soul Ring in both the decks. Alright, moving on, we have our 10 Advantage card suite. Rishkar's Expertise and Syndicate Resurgence fits in both decks, as well as Lifecrafters Mutuary, Harmonize, Vanquisher's Banner, Elemental Bond. Now the Vanquisher's Banner, instead of Goblins, you're going to name Hydra. This is a Hydra tribal deck. Next, Uncage the Menagerie, Enshrined Memories, Wildest Dream, and Momentous Fall. Both decks. The removal suite here, we have the board wipes and the targeted removal with X cost. So hence the reason why we were playing so many X spells, so that we don't have to transfer them out and they still do an effective job. More so in this deck, obviously, because of the Rosheen's ability, but effective nonetheless. Decimate, Corrosive Grip, Beast Within, and Hull Breach. Like I said, just excellent value. Pretty common for Gruul decks. Clan Defiance, Sudden Demise, Savage Twister, and Subterranean Tremors. Going to be a lot easier to get that X cost up. And here we have Haste and Hexproof, so the same. Boost and Trample, same. And now we get into the creatures. So these are where the changes from the other deck are going to come into play. So we have Lifeblood Hydra, which is a X green, green, green trample. It enters with X 1/1 counters. Whenever it dies, you gain life and draw cards equal to its power. So we're going to pay green, green, green out of our pocket of mana. And then if you want, you could tap Rosheen to have X equal 4, and it'll be a 4/4 trampler for essentially 7 mana, but sort of only 3 green because of Rosheen's ability. And also, you could just dump all the mana you want into this thing. I mean, why not? Basswood Hydra, X green, green, same thing, enters with X 1/1 counters, but this time when it dies, you distribute 1/1 counters equal to the 1/1 counters on it to any number of creatures you control. Genesis Hydra's X green, green. It when you cast it, so not when it enters, actually on cast, you reveal the top X, and then you put non-land permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield, and then shuffle, and it enters with X/1/1 counters. The Genesis Hydra enters with X/1/1 counters. Hooded Hydra, so X green enters with X/1/1 counters, and when it dies, you get 1/1 snakes for each 1/1 counter on it, and it also has morph. As it is turned face up, put 5/1 counters on it. So I'm definitely running this as a 2/2 for 3. So that's what morph is. In case you don't know, you could play it face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 mana. Then you could turn it up anytime you want for its morph cost. So, for example, you could pay 3 mana and have this as a 2/2, and immediately pay green 3 to flip it over, and it gets 5. The thing about it is that Rosheen's ability lets you tap 4 for X cost. So if you put 5 mana and 3 mana into this, it's 8 mana. You're going to get 5/5. But if you just use Rosheen's ability for 4 and then 2, the same amount of effort with the 8 mana, you're going to get way bigger. You're going to get way more value if you just use Rosheen's ability. But you can do the morph if you don't have Rosheen out. You get the point here. Here we have Pelucranos World Eater. So this is the first of the cards that doesn't have an X cost, but that's because it has Monstrosity X. So Rosheen does tap to contribute to these X cost. And Pelucranos World Eater says when it becomes monstrous, it deals X damage divided as you choose among creatures and opponent, any number of creatures your opponents control. Each of those creatures deals damage equal to its power to Pelucranos. Then you have Feral Hydra, which is a X green. It comes into play with X/1/1 counters. You could also pay 3 to put a 1 counter on it anytime. Any player may play this ability. Domesticated Hydra. It's 2 green for a 3/3 with Monstrosity X, X green, and it becomes monstrornary. Man, that's a tough word to say. As long as it's monstrous, it has trample. Then you have Hydra Broodmaster for 4 green, XX green for Monstrosity X. Whenever it becomes monstrous, put XX green Hydra creature tokens onto the battlefield. It's a 7/7. Whew, these are some powerful beasts here. Well, not beasts, Hydras. You know what I'm saying. Apocalypse Hydra is X red-green. When it enters, you get X/1/1 counters. If X is 5 or more, it enters with an additional X/1/1 counters. So with Rosheen, you're always going to want to pay at least 3 in your commander tapping so that you can make sure you double up on those counters, essentially. Then you can pay a red and a generic mana to remove a 1/1 counter from the Apocalypse Hydra to have it deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Mistcutter's X green can't be countered, has haste and protection from blue, and enters with X/1/1 counters. Savageborn Hydra is X red green. Double Strike enters the battlefield with X/1/1 counters, and you can pay 1 and a hybrid red green to put a 1/1 counter on it, but you can only activate this as a sorcery. Then you have Protein Hydra for X and a green. It enters with X/1/1 counters. If damage would be dealt to it, prevent that damage and remove that many 1/1 counters. Whenever a 1/1 counter is removed from it, put 2 1/1 counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. And those are our Hydras. Next up, we'll move to our utility spells. Strength of the Tajaru, X green, multi-kicker for 1, so you could pay 1 anytime you would cast this spell as many times as you like. Choose target creature, then choose another target creature for each time it was kicked. Put X/1 counters on each of them. So for Rosheen's ability, you cannot pay the multi-kicker, but you can for the X. So if you pay green, and you have 5 creatures out, you could pay green, 5 of your mana, so 7 mana total, right? And then you could tap Rosheen to have X equal 4, and then you could put 4 1 counters on those creatures that you multi-kicked. Beastmaster Ascension for 2 and a green. Whenever a creature you control attacks, you put a counter on it, and then if you have 7 or more quest counters on it, creatures you control get +5/+5. Here we have the Hatchery, which is XX. Enters with X charge counters. You can pay 5 tap and get a 1/1 green creature token equal to the charge counters on it. Mage Right Stone, 1 tap, untap creature that has an activated ability with tap and its cost. Sword of the Pyrons, which lets you equip for 3, and then you can pay 3 to tap or untap the creature. And then Helix Pinnacle. So it has Shroud, then you can pay X mana, put X tower counters on it, and if it gets to 100, you win the game. So this is kind of like the bring over from As Luck Would Have It of the other old Buzzspark deck. The one thing I'll say here about the Hatchery card is that it works really well with these two Mage Right. So in fact, all these work good with Sword of the Pyrons and Mage Right, because you could tap Rosheen for 4 and then just use 1 of your mana to untap them and get that 4 again, and then use 3 of your mana to untap them again. So basically, if you have Sword equipped to your commander and you have 4 mana open and all you have is X spells, you could pay your 4 mana that you have to get 12 total mana that can be used on X spells. Pretty good value. Next up, we have Sylvan Offering. So you choose an opponent and they get an XX green Tree Folk, and then you choose an opponent and they get X 1/1 green elf wolf warriors. Elf warriors. They're not wolves. Forget about that wolf part. Worm Calling, which lets you buy back, so that's always good. Put an XX green worm creature token into play, and then you have the Genesis, which lets you put XXX green ooze creature tokens on a battlefield, and then Endless One, because it's Endless One. I mean, who can beat tap your commander to get a 4/4? It's pretty good. And for the lands, we're running the same exact lands as in the old Buzzspark deck, 39 of them. But instead of the Water Market, we're running Temple of the False God, because it's kind of like the same land there. And instead of the whatever the card is that lets you tap for mana of the Water Market, that might be Water Market. You guys know what I'm saying. Run a Command Tower here instead of the other one. Those are the only 2 swaps. So in total, you're going to have the 2 ramp cards, the 2 land cards, 10 utility cards, and then 12 creature cards that are swapping over. So that's 2, 4, 6, where are we at here? 26, and then the commander. So 27 cards. So essentially, you're going to have a 27 card transformational sideboard. And then you'll have your 100 card deck, 27 cards that you swap out for the silver border cards, and then a 25 card library of contraptions. And if you want to check this deck out, it's deck number 860928 on MTG Goldfish. That's Rosheen Meanderer. Pretty cool. Again, if you missed it, you get 128 cards. I could not get the optimizer on TCG Player to work for $60, and that's going to give you something to do with Unstable, something to do with Contraptions. Contraptions are a lot of fun, and then something to do after Unstable's over. So, hey, please like, share, and subscribe if you liked, if you want to share, and if you're not subscribed yet. And I appreciate you watching it. That's going to do it for this week's version of Unstable content coming to you. I'm Joshua Jones, and we'll see you next time.